In our already embarrassingly dumbed down society, we seem to have gone from making decisions based on sound bites to sound microbites. If this was ever true anywhere, it is true of the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine. I knew things had gotten bad when my kid told me they had started offering Ukrainian flag skins, and one looks like President Zelenskaya. Skins are video game avatars or characters to you boomers, both of you. Ukrainian skins? Time to take a breath. Russia has invaded Ukraine, and personally, I don't find the arguments that this was a justified invasion to be at all compelling. But, and I know this may come as a shock, Russia invading Ukraine has not turned Ukraine into a bastion of freedom, fairness, and unsullied righteousness. For one thing, Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, which has been absolutely great for a few of us, but not for the rest of us. Way back in the olden days, I spent a fair amount of time with someone who was born and raised in Odessa. That's a Ukrainian city on the Black Sea. This person's family had fled Ukraine, never to return, and based on their experience and others I've encountered since then, while there are definitely some good things about the country, like most places in the world, Ukraine is a place that's not nice to visit, and you definitely don't want to live there. I'll just mention a few of the more egregious examples of pro-Ukraine propaganda I've seen. There are many, many more. Propaganda message number one: Ukrainians are straight shooters. I guess you could actually take this two ways. If you mean this in a literal sense, then the Ukrainians do seem to be giving the Russians a run for their money and countering the invasion. I got to tell you, I have a lot of admiration for that. But if you mean it in a rhetorical sense, as I do here, nothing could be further from the truth. Ukraine is one of the most corrupt countries on the planet. In rankings of economic freedom put together by both the Cato Institute and the Heritage Institute, Ukraine consistently ranks near the bottom, somewhere between Russia and Belarus. The main reason for this is that the rule of law in Ukraine is very weak. Just about everyone is for sale: judges, police, military, civil servants. And the reason that just about everyone is for sale is that for the most part, the Ukrainians are fine with that. When asked, in essence, whether they were okay with corruption, the anti-corruption Ukrainians edged out the pro-corruption Ukrainians, but not by much. Every few years, corrupt politicians promise to stamp out corruption in Ukraine. There's no hope of this happening as long as it is so deeply embedded in the culture. Propaganda message number two: the Ukrainians are tolerant. Unlike in the United States, where there is no meaningful Nazi movement, and hasn't been for many years, there are actual Nazis in Ukraine. In fact, in a recent election, the Nazis in Ukraine got more votes than the libertarians in America. But let's not open up that wound. Vladimir Putin's claim that he invaded Ukraine to save it from the Nazis is laughable. Their numbers are minuscule. But the point is, Ukraine is a highly nationalistic, very conservative society. Something on the order of 70% of Ukrainians identify themselves as Orthodox Christians, a much more intolerant variety than the Christians light that you tend to see elsewhere. And finally, best of all, propaganda point number three: the Ukrainians are pro-gay. Unreal. The truth is that the gay community, sorry, I've lost track of the latest acronym soup being used today, but the gay community is very widely despised in Ukraine. Transsexuality is officially classified as a psychiatric disorder. The Ukraine Greek Catholic Church has the sin of homosexuality in the same category as manslaughter. About 1 in 5 Ukrainians believe homosexuality should be prosecuted as a crime. But I'm sure they'd be okay with teaching first graders about 30 different gender identities without their parents' knowledge. Anyway, the gay community in Ukraine enjoys none of the legal freedoms available in much of the rest of the world. And yet, splashed across the leftist press are images of tolerance and inclusion. The obvious question is why? And unfortunately, the answer is just as obvious. It would be inconceivable for the American left to support Ukrainian society as it actually is. Because it's fine, after all, to attack and kill Americans over much less severe policies than those in Ukraine. So it's necessary to create an alternate reality where all Ukrainians are actually in philosophical lockstep with the American left. Because you see, if they were not, they would have earned the invasion and all the death, carnage, and suffering that has come with it. One of the hallmarks of leftist theory today is an all-out war on facts. They've really outdone themselves during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Now, I'm of the opinion Ukrainians, the actual Ukrainians, not the fake Ukrainians we see in the press, are in the right in this conflict. They are the ones being invaded, after all. I don't need to agree with their politics to come to this conclusion, nor should any other thinking person, which actually explains a lot.